How do you create a blurred, soft-focused background for a watercolour painting? Like these. Let's look at the process I used to paint the background for the picture on the right. I wanted to give the impression of the tree in the middle of a forest on a sunny day, surrounded by a mass of foliage. This type of background is usually painted as a wet into wet wash, which means we add wet paint to already wet paper. The paper may be wet just with water or an existing wash that hasn't dried. The wetness causes the paint we add to disperse and create soft transitions. The challenge is to paint a wash like this around the foreground shapes. Some people can do this, but most of us end up with sections that look like they come from different paintings. The colours look different and the soft shapes don't line up. A good solution is to mask the foreground shapes so you can paint the background over them. Steve Mitchell from The Mind of Watercolour demonstrated how he does this with a combination of masking tape and masking fluid in his video I Found It Where, Beautiful Blossom Surprise. There is a link to Steve's video in the description. I recommend watching it. There are links to other materials that I reference and also a post on my blog about this topic. I've started the picture by drawing an outline of the tree in pencil on watercolour paper. This is a Saunders Waterford pad with a knot or cold press surface. I'm not really working from a reference photo. The tree is loosely based on this one, but I'm altering the shapes, the lighting and the colours. I'm going to use wide, low-tack masking tape to cover most of the tree, so I don't have to use so much masking fluid. And I'm using this fine-tipped masking fluid applicator to add the masking fluid. This is definitely the easiest and least stressful way I've found to apply masking fluid. I'm still not a huge fan, but you never know, maybe I'll learn to love it. I start cutting strips of tape and apply them to the tree, mostly staying just within the lines so I can seal around the edges and create details with masking fluid. After I finish the bottom section, I push it down firmly with my fingers, but I really should have used a small spoon. A spoon is the perfect tool to apply pressure without damaging the paper. You can happily go over the edges of the tape to make sure they are stuck down. You want to do this before sealing them with masking fluid. I applied masking fluid around this bottom section. Initially the masking fluid didn't go on very easily because I'd left it in the applicator for a couple of months. Once I cleaned the applicator it went on much easier. There is a clip of this in a couple of minutes. After applying masking fluid to the bottom section, I return to tape the rest of the tree. This time I press it down with the handle of the scissors, but I really should have used a spoon. It's important to rub over the edges because these are the bits we need to make sure are well stuck down. Next I apply masking fluid around the top section. Now I've cleaned the applicator, you can see how well it works. This is what the tree looks like when it is completely masked. I mix up a bright green from transparent yellow and sap green with some Daniel Smith Monte Amiata natural Sienna to neutralise it a bit and make it look more natural. This is a new palette. I'm using it for the first time in honour of this video. I really should have tested it first. The paint is beading quite unpleasantly. Instead of staying in a nice flat puddle, the paint is clumping back together to create beads or droplets. This beading makes it difficult to judge the colour and consistency of the paint you've mixed. Since editing this video, I've done some research and I'll make another video about breaking in a new palette to stop this behaviour. I wet the page with a sponge, but I could have easily used a brush. I start by splattering the page with the bright yellowy green. You can't see, but I'm getting more paint on the ceiling and walls than on the paper. Lots of people seem to favour creating splatter by stopping the brush abruptly by hitting it against their hand or a brush handle. I'm trying the technique recommended by Lovett. He suggests bringing the brush down with a quick downward movement from the shoulder, not the wrist, then stopping suddenly without flicking. He says this gives more control, but clearly I need more practice, and probably outdoors. I suspect I need wetter paint, a bigger brush and less vigour. I alternate between splattering and more conventional use of the brush. I progressively darken the mix by adding a bit of Windsor green and burnt sienna. And I keep alternating between splattering and painting. Then darkening the mix some more. Occasionally I use a paper towel to blot up liquid on the mask that could run back into the wash as it dries. I mix a second dark from phthalo blue, burnt sienna and the natural sienna. The beading is getting horrible. I start by dotting the dark green onto the picture. I want this to hold its shape more, so I wait for the paper to dry a bit, and I try little sections until the paint starts to give the effect I want. Then I start adding it, like areas of leaves. I use a dark brown to add some branches. The background is finished. Now I need to leave it to dry completely. Now it's dry, I can take the masking off. You need to be careful with masking tape to ensure you don't tear the paper. People recommend tools like erasers and plastic cards for removing masking fluid, but I mostly use just clean hands. Fingers are the best way for detecting any remaining masking fluid. With the mask off, the remaining task is to clean up any leaks. I'm going to use these two acrylic painting brushes. You want a brush that is firmer than a typical watercolour brush, but you don't need anything too hard. You don't want to scrub and scrape, just re-wet the paint, give it a chance to dissolve, and then dab it. That's it, the background is complete and ready for me to paint the tree. Thank you for watching. If this was helpful, please watch my next video about painting the tree. I'll leave a link in the description and here when it's ready.